Hello everyone, it's Laura Brazil of Mind Over Muscle, and today I'm taking you through a mini walking warm-up. So we're going to start with a stretch. I'm going to use this half dome, but you can use a rolled up towel at home. And I'm going to start with a calf stretch. I'm going to put my ball of the foot up on whatever surface I'm using, and the heel stays on the ground. And I'm going to walk the non-stretching leg as far forward as I can without leaning or bending the waist or the hips. So I want to do my calf stretch in the same position that I would want to walk in. So if you have a mirror next to you, you can use that. I'm going to switch sides. This first pass of the calf stretch, I'm keeping both legs straight. And if you're really tight, the other foot may be way back behind you. It's not about how far your foot goes in front. It's about maintaining our walking position as we do this stretch. We want long calves in the position that we want to walk in. All right, we're going to go back to the first side. And we're going to set up with a straight leg, and this time we're going to bend our knees a little bit after we set up. This is the bent knee calf stretch, and this is especially useful if you're planning a walk that involves going uphill. It gets the ankle prepared to be at that more extreme uphill angle. We mostly walk on flat and level, so this is a nice one to use. And switch sides. On all of these calf stretches, I'm trying to keep my heel down. So I'm not putting a ton of weight into the ball of my foot. I'm keeping most of the weight back in the mid heel and just having a nice resting, balancing pressure on the ball of the foot. There we go. So we had our single leg calf stretch. I'm now going to put both balls of the feet up here. If this seems really extreme for you, then you can, if you're using a towel, you can do lower height, but a lower height here can make a big difference. And we're going to send our hips back here. My knees are straight. And you might feel this anywhere along your posterior chain. So that means calves, hamstrings, glutes, low back, anywhere along here. You can put your hands just above your knees. You could also have a chair in front of you too, or rest on a countertop if that's available. But the main thing here is trying to get that hip joint behind the ankle joint. So here my hip joint's stacked above my ankle joint, and then I move it back behind. And I stood up for a moment, so if you didn't do that, you can do that, and then go back into the stretch, and then stand up one more time, and go back again. We're not holding any of these stretches for too long. I don't want to be really, I don't want to be like a super stretched out before I head out for a walk. I just want to kind of warm things up and get moving. All right, I'm going to set this aside. We're done with both the single leg and double leg calf stretch. And next we're going to just start swinging the arms opposite directions. Just trying to get the blood flowing up the body too, so from the side view. And as I'm doing my arm swing, I'm thinking about pulling my arm back with my tricep, the back of my arm, and then letting it swing forward in a relaxed fashion. So the work happens pulling it back. And so I'm not pumping my arms forward like we typically see when we might be power walking or doing other types of competitive race walking. I'm now going to do a leg swing, and I'm going to swing the leg forward and back. And my arms are naturally going, I've already done the arm swing, so my arms are going with the leg here. So opposite arm, opposite leg. This starts working a little bit of balance. So if you need a wall to hold on to, As you're doing this, you can absolutely do that. And then switch sides. It's not about how big the leg swing is here. I'm trying to get this motion from my hip joint as I'm swinging my leg, and not from my low back. So a lot of times we'll get these big leg swings, but a lot of the motion's coming from the low back. And again, I want the leg swing to look, I want my torso up here to look like it would as I'm walking. So I don't want to be doing this with my upper body in order to get the leg swing, or doing big motions like that, because in walking, that's not the type of, I want to have the length and the hamstring, the motion of the hip in the same shape that I want to be walking in. All right, so 2 more things here. We're going to start building some strength. I like to do some pelvic lifts before I walk. So a pelvic lift is just a way to use your lateral hips, which should be happening when we walk, but often for many of us doesn't. So I'm using the lateral hip on my stance leg to have this hip go down. I'm going to switch sides. I did about 8 there, 5, 8. I usually don't count. I go for a feeling of warmth and like, okay, I'm feeling that muscle work. So I'm pushing my stance leg foot down hard into the ground and activating my hip over here. This side over here isn't doing a ton of work. It's the lateral hip on the stance leg. All right, I'm gonna shake that out. And then final strength exercise, I like getting my hamstrings activated before I go out. So this is a single leg deadlift or a single leg hip hinge to strengthen the hamstring, because I like to push myself forward with my hamstring. Feel free on this to keep the non-working leg foot on the ground. And it's going to look a lot like that calf stretch we did earlier, except now most of my weight is on the stance leg, and I'm lowering, I'm getting a nice hip hinge here, and I'm using the back of my leg to do it. Ideally, when we're out walking, we get a lot of hamstring propelling us forward, pushing us forward. Just about 5 here. I'm going to switch sides. You can absolutely use a wall for this, or chair or table, something sturdy. But what I'm trying to do is get my hip joint. You can feel that bony part on the side of the hip here. It's that really dense part. And that hip joint is going back behind my ankle joint. Most of us don't have any of the wall here. We don't have a huge range of motion. We don't have the strength and a huge range of motion. You might have a decent range of motion, but just not the strength. So this builds a nice base of strength. You might notice here that I'm getting a little bit breathless as I do this. Some of it's because I'm talking, but I've also, this warm up, I start with a stretch. I move a little bit into some more dynamic range of motion with the arm swing and the leg swing, and then I move into strength. And now I'm warmed up, I'm ready to go out on a walk, and I hope you're able to use this little warm-up mini before you head out for a walk, and hope it helps you build strength and range of motion. So head out, enjoy your walk, and know that I'm likely out on a walk too. All right, bye everyone.